Getting knocked out of the Stanley Cup playoffs by the Colorado Avalanche, not a huge shocker. But the way it happened, I don't think anybody saw this coming. Winnipeg Jets had their locker clean-out day today. John Liu was there and now joins us from Winnipeg. John, would anybody in the world have seen this coming? A Vezina winning for sure season by Connor Hellebuyck during the regular season, followed up by giving up 24 goals in just 5 starts in the playoffs. A pretty emotional day for Connor Hellebuyck as he was asked to reflect back on how it all unfolded.
Yeah, Gino, emotional is a very good way to describe it, because this was the most emotional, most candid that I've ever heard Connor Hellebuyck. And for my colleagues who've covered him his entire career, they back that up. Connor Hellebuyck, he was very honest with how he was feeling in the aftermath of this very disappointing series loss. Like, he started off his portion of his press conference by saying this, like, you may not believe it when I say this, but he felt like he was playing the best hockey of his career into the playoffs. And so, I mean, that just says that, the goals allowed speak for itself. Whether or not he's aware of what people in the market were saying, that the disbelief or the dissatisfaction with how he played in that playoff series, it's like, well, okay. In his heart, he believes that he was still playing his best hockey as much as possible. Having said that, he did admit that the fact that, quote, he wasn't able to put his foot down for at least one game, that was heartbreaking. And so there is an admission there that he wasn't playing at his absolute best. And again, a couple of days ago, we spoke about it. The goal save above expected was bottom of all the goaltenders in the NHL playoffs, and he finished with -5 goals saved above expected. But in the same breath, though, Hellebuyck did give credit to the Avalanche when he said that basically, he said, I don't know if I even saw half the pucks go in the net. And our good friends at Sportlogic tabulated the number of screen goals that the Jets allowed. Well, it was 10. Connor Hellebuyck gave up 24. So really, almost half the goals that he allowed, he didn't see the puck. So he was accurate in that assessment, but certainly he was really leaving it all out there, and especially after he admitted that after he was pulled through 2 periods in Game 4, when he was sitting there and reflecting, he said that a flood of emotions that he'd been suppressing through the series came back to him, and he realized in his head, he said, I can't do this alone. And he came to the realization that he'd been taking too much onto his own shoulders. He was trying to carry the team too much, literally and figuratively, and that he said that he needed to dive down more into the team game. And so that really was something that was an admission that we in the media had never heard from Hellebuyck before, but it really speaks to his level of frustration about him not being able to meet his standards, but also the fact that no matter he was trying to his best efforts, but ultimately that and the team's performance were not good enough.
I thought it was really interesting that Connor Hellebuyck would come out and say he was disappointed that the team as a group didn't make the kind of adjustments they needed to make. He referenced the fact that we won game number 1 and Colorado made the adjustments and they were a different team from game 2 on. But as Colorado kept trying the same plays, the same scoring drives, and they just kept working, and we never adjusted to it. Mark Scheifele made a similar comment where he just said, through the series against the Avs, we never really adjusted to it. Whereas Rick Bowness, for his part, saying, you want adjustments, stop taking penalties. You want adjustments, play a little bit more disciplined. It's interesting. Was it just me, or is there a disconnect in looking back on how Bowness saw this unfold and how some of the players did?
Yeah, I think so, Gino, because Bowness said that he didn't feel like the Avalanche did make a lot of adjustments from their regular season play when the Jets swept them. It was more that they upped their intensity, their ferocity in certain areas of their game, like their forecheck. But one of the other players had said earlier before Bowness had spoken that the Avalanche had not thrown that type of forecheck at them during the regular season as well. So the Avalanche clearly did make adjustments. The Jets weren't able to successfully. And so, yeah, absolutely, there was a disconnect there. Whether or not that is going to be something that festers, that carries on into next season, it's TBD, because we don't know exactly what Rick Bowness is going to do next year.
Yeah, and as we do know is that Rick Bowness has a decision to make, because he's got a coach option to want to come back from next year. That doesn't necessarily mean, even if he wants to, the team will bring him back. But if they don't bring him back, they're going to have to pay him. I thought it was interesting when Bowness was asked about what he's going to do. He said, I know what I want to do. I know what I'm going to do. that's going to come out. What do you think, from being around him and watching this all unfold, what do you think he's going to do?
Gino, he keeps saying that he still loves what he's doing. He speaks very passionately, enthusiastic about the fact that this is his philosophy, that every day in the NHL is a great day. And that's something that he imparts to his players as well. But you have to go back to the beginning of the season where Rick Bowness's wife had a health crisis. Later in the season, he had a medical procedure that had to be attended to. He had the COVID last year at the beginning of his first season with the Jets. And so there's been certain life events that really might impact his decision. And again, he was cryptic about what he's going to do, even though it sounds like he has made up his mind as to what he's going to do. But he also said something that might hint at him contemplating coming back, because when he was asked about his role in the Jets' first round loss, he said that he took full responsibility for it. He owned it, and that it would not happen again under his watch. And so, well, he wouldn't say that if he didn't have an intention of coming back. And the fact is that there probably is still stuff that he wants to accomplish with his club, because he noted that there were certain things that he was brought in, that he was hired to do certain things. And you can tick these boxes, Gino, because he did a very good job in, first, changing the culture, secondly, establishing a team identity, and third, getting back to the playoffs. In the first instance, he made the tough decision to take the C off of Blake Wheeler. This season, they put it on Adam Lowry, and that really improved the whole direction and tone of leadership on this club. Secondly, establishing an identity. Well, the Jets built on what they started last year. They were the best defensive club in the league this season. And then third, going back to the playoffs, they didn't go as far as they would have liked, but they got back to the playoffs in the first round, both last year and this year. So you can tick the three major boxes that Rick Bowness has set out to do, but sort of get the feeling that there is still a little bit more unfinished business in his mind, and we'll just have to wait and see what his ultimate decision is.
And he said he clearly still loves the game. He still loves his job. He loves what he's doing. What about the organization itself, Johnny? Before the season started, there were huge question marks about the direction the Jets were going to take, because they wanted to know what they were going to do with Scheifele and Connor Hellebuyck long term. They locked them out both up to long-term contracts, and that then determined what they were going to do as a team management, the direction they were going to take. They did a great push. They brought in Sean Monahan. They brought in Tyler Toffoli. They brought in Colin Miller to bolster the team, traded away, picked some prospects in order to make that happen. And then they fall short. Now, they fell short against the Colorado Avalanche, a team that no one would be surprised if they go on to win the Stanley Cup. But the question is, where do the Jets go from here now in the offseason?
Well, a couple of the guys that you mentioned as key acquisitions, Gino, they have to figure that out too. Like, how are they going to either re-sign or replace guys that they brought in? And ultimately, they fell short of their goals, so nobody in the organization had performed to their optimum level. But first and foremost, Sean Monahan, when he was asked about his future, he said that the 2 months, 3 months really, that he's been with the Jets went by really quickly, that he's enjoyed his time here. And when I spoke to him a few weeks ago, he said that he would be open to re-signing with the Jets. Tyler Toffoli, in his exit with us in the media, he made it very clear. Wording that he used was to the effect that he intends to explore the market because he's earned the opportunity to control his future. And so, in all likelihood, Tyler Toffoli is going to be moving on from the Jets. Colin Miller, we don't know what his future is going to be. Laurent Brossoit, he very likely will be going to market simply because of the season that he had in support of Connor Hellebuyck. He would like another shot at being a number one goalie, and he's earned that right, certainly. But the one player, you know what? I'll go with a couple of defensive UFAs as well. Dylan DeMello, he said that he feels like he's at home here in Winnipeg, and so he really would like to come back as Josh Morrissey's defensive partner. And Brendan Dillon, he expressed frustration that he wasn't able to come to a new contract through the course of the season because his intentions are to stay here in Winnipeg first and foremost. But he's going to have conversations with Kevin Cheveldayoff, and we'll see where that leads. But that's an important part of the leadership core that and their defensive core that certainly wants to be here. But the one player that I was going to get to who's not a UFA but will be after next season is Nikolai Ehlers. Just the way that his deployment unfolded this year, it's been 3 coaches now, that he's been primarily relegated to a second line and second power play unit role. There's a belief in the market, certainly amongst the fan base, that he is deserving of more in terms of minutes and opportunity and usage. So whether Ehlers fits into the Jets' longer-term plans is undetermined, because when he was asked, does he want to remain to be part of the solution, he didn't give an answer in that regard. That he said he hasn't spoken to Kevin Cheveldayoff, and that's something that he and his agent will have to work out as the months go by. But Ehlers, certainly he has some things to look after, simply because he had that neck injury or neck issue that was plaguing him through training camp, that he missed most of the preseason. He said he needs to take a look, or needs to have that looked at before it gets worse. And he didn't believe that surgery would be required, but so his future is a little bit up in the air, simply because he'll be going into the same situation that Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuyck were faced with at the start of this most recent season. Will Nikolai Ehlers be a part of the Jets' future moving forward or not?
Well, there was so much promise, so much optimism through so much of this season for the Winnipeg Jets. And in the end, it's just more disappointment. Just one playoff series win in their last 6 years. The season's over, and the work now begins. John Liu from Winnipeg. Thank you for this, John.